What's your name?
Itamar.
How was your life before?
Well, my life was a complete failure. I was at the bottom of the pit. I dug that pit until I couldn't dig anymore. I was a businessman with two huge restaurants, and I was selling 2,000 meals a day. I had a stable life, but overnight I lost everything. I had to sell the restaurants. I sold all my possessions, properties, cars. I was just left with the clothes on my back. And I had a huge debt of over 40,000 pounds. I went from selling 2,000 meals a day to being complete misery, living with my parents and having to beg for a plate of food. That was my situation. I couldn't sleep at night. I wanted to kill myself. I was at home. I didn't even want to go out of the house because I was a failure to my family. And for everyone else as well. My friends left me. I was left completely alone. Only two people looked after me, which was my dad and my mom. And when I couldn't sleep, I was planning to kill myself. Thank God there was a TV program playing, and I would watch from then all the programs of Record TV. I would watch those testimonies of the Monday services. And I would say, my God, this can't all be true. I'm sure these people are lying. They're talking about they were in misery, all of a sudden they are prosperous. I was watching these testimonies for 6 months without coming to the church, in misery. I didn't have £1, and I had this huge debt that I didn't know how I was going to pay that debt. I thought the way out was death. And then I watched one day a testimony, a really powerful testimony. It's what brought me to the church. This guy who was a beggar and lived under a bridge with his dog, and that dog would bring him food, leftovers. He came to the church one day to have a soup. They were giving out soup. And he had a 50p coin. He put it on the altar. From there he learned to give, to sacrifice, and his life changed. And I thought to myself, I'm a coward. Because I'm at the bottom of the pit. This beggar was worse off than me, and you change his life. So you have to change my life as well. I came to the church. I sat right at the back, in the last bench. Loads of negative ideas against the church. I had no money, but I thought I was going to be robbed. I had no idea how I was going to be robbed because I only had the clothes on my back. When I came to the church, it was during the time of the campaign of Israel. And the pastor was talking about the campaign, you know, giving 6,000, 1,000. I didn't even have £1. But when he was talking on the altar, it's like he knew how my life was. It's like he was saying things that was exactly how my life was. I came with my dad. He was a pastor of another church. I told him I wanted to go to the church. He told me he would take me, but I said, no, I want to go to the UCKG. And he said, if it's for you to know Jesus, then I'll take you to the church. So he brought me. I even asked him, Dad, did you tell him about my life? Because he's speaking about my whole life. And he said, no, I didn't tell him. It's my first time here as well. And I'm not telling anyone who I am because otherwise I'll have probably my own church. But the purposes were going on. As the pastor was mentioning the amount of the campaign, he was lowering the amount, and I thought that when he got to 10 pounds, I'll take the envelope. I can borrow 10 pounds from someone.
When speaking about the campaign of Israel, we were calling certain amounts, and you were waiting the pastor to call 10 pounds.
That's right. That's what I thought.
So what amount did he stop calling?
Oh, they stopped with 300, something like 300 pounds. That was like a minimum wage for me. I didn't have that. But I came and took the envelope anyway because I wanted to change my life. I went on the altar, took the envelope. And when I took that envelope, I said, the God of that beggar that I saw on TV, you changed his life, you have to change mine. And this makes me emotional, Bishop, because this was very powerful. What I couldn't do for myself, I did for God. Because I would go out in the morning every day, and I tried to do these odd jobs in neighborhoods where people didn't know me. But every so often I met people that knew who I was, and they would even mock me. And in 10 days, I managed to raise 3,000 Then I started to think, well, I took an envelope to give 300, I can keep 2,700, then I can sort myself out for a few weeks. But because I was coming every day to the church, and the pastor said in the church, look, if you raised more than what you vowed to give, and if you don't put all on the altar, then it's not a sacrifice. And then I thought, well, it has to be the 3,000 then. I said, let's go in this faith. What I raised. And I didn't take £1 from that envelope. That sacrifice, even till today, it cries out for me. Because I would go hungry, Bishop, but I wouldn't take one coin from that envelope. And I put everything on the altar with the assurance that God would change my life. And what did I do? A client from this large food company, I went to ask him for a job, and he was mocking me. Look, you were this big businessman, and you're asking me for a job. And I think God sent me there just to be able to evangelize him, because he said, look, we have one job that no one wants to do, which is to sell food in the shanty towns, if you want. And I said that I'll take it, and in the first month, I sold more than anybody. And I told him it's because I was selling with God by my side. He was directing me. And there I saw that God was with me. I decided to start my own company. That company started with a small table and a small chair in a corner somewhere. And today that company is the greatest company in that city where I live. I can glorify my God, because today I have 3 companies. For someone who had nothing, I paid all my debts off. And something that really marks my life is that when God changes someone's life, He really changes completely. God found me a wife. He sent a woman that had the same faith that I have, because if He would have sent a stumbling block in my life would have been over. I met her because of sacrifice as well. And this wife that God gave me. Today, I'm 52 years old. I couldn't have kids. My wife couldn't have kids either. The doctor said that we should have adopted because we couldn't have any kids, but I didn't believe in that doctor. Neither did my wife. So we did a purpose in the campaign to have children. And in the next campaign, she was giving testimony that she was pregnant. We had a daughter, Lana. And then we said, my God, we want more children. And just to dishonor the children, my wife had 4 twins, 4 children in one go. Why am I saying this now, Bishop? Because my 3rd company is a private school. It's one of the best private schools. My daughter is 6 years old and she can read and write. We did the best for them, for our kids, because they had to study in their own school. I have an estate agent, I have a graphic design and printing company, and a private school. Today I have country houses. I have many properties. I live in a house by the sea with a private beach and pier. My house is worth more than 3 million. I have 3 cars. And for sure, God is living inside of me. The Holy Spirit gives me this faith. I had faith before, but faith together with the Holy Spirit, no one can hold me.
Your first sacrifice was £3,000. Actually, it was a vow of £300, and you managed to present 3,000. How was your last sacrifice?
My last sacrifice was 350,000. My life today is completely different, totally different. I thought I had a good life before when I had the restaurants. But today I have a life that is 1,000 lives better in terms of assets, not to mention that I have the Holy Spirit now in my heart.
Deus abençoe.